Hi guys, and welcome back to the Young Lawyer podcast. For all of those newbies listening in, this podcast aims to bring the legal community together by highlighting the available support for young lawyers, discussing different journeys people take, and other important factors that could affect your legal journey. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Young Lawyer podcast.
Alrighty, well, welcome to the Young Lawyer podcast. It's fantastic to have you on. If you just want to start by introducing yourself and how you began your legal journey.
So my name's James Diamond. I'm 28 years old this year, I'm 28 in August, but I always, to help ease the aging process, I just start calling myself my age that I'm turning in August from January. So then when I go to turn 28, I'm like, oh, I already feel 28. I started my legal career. So my old man, my father was a barrister, was a solicitor and then became a barrister. So he, how did he start his journey? He actually, from Cairns, grew up on the Gold Coast, was going to Miami High, was getting into a bit of trouble, so decided to do an exchange over to Seguin in Texas, and his exchange family or whatever, he was a judge. So that got Dad interested in law, and then Dad came back to the Gold Coast on the Friday and had an interview on the Monday and started on the Tuesday. So then became a barrister and then went up to Hong Kong in the heyday and started doing some tax stuff and all that up there. So yeah, I've always kind of been around law. His brother, my uncle, is a lawyer on the Gold Coast, so my uncle's oldest daughter, she's a lawyer too. So I've always kind of been around it. Mum and Dad divorced before I was born, so spent time in Hong Kong and time in New Zealand. So saw a bit of that with Dad and then thought, yeah, why not? I mean, I came over to the Gold Coast when I was just turned 17 to the bridging course. Was planning on doing med, but decided to do law because I didn't want to spend 5 years at uni. Ended up spending 6. So did my bridging course, did my Bachelor of Laws, did about an 80% of a business degree, and then a full Master's of Accounting. And then didn't really want to work in law, kind of just wanted to do like tax advisory structuring stuff. So got a job in Singapore, went up there and did tax structuring for a corporate advisory firm, and then went down to Mauritius, did the same thing down there, but started kind of getting pushed into the client accounting side of it, which is not really me. And then I kind of woke up one day and felt that all of my hard work at uni was kind of for a waste if I never got admitted and never became a lawyer. So I came back, did my PLT in Sydney, then got admitted. Then what did I do? Then went to Darwin and looked at opening up a cafe. Didn't do that. Floated around, moved to London for a few months. Ended up back at Deloitte in Melbourne, all while kind of working with Dad and assisting him on different stuff, like all the way through. Did not suit big firm style at all, not at all. So then got a job in Sydney with a boutique firm, with a guy that was ex Norton Rose and big banks, not big four banks, but big banks. So super interesting guy, super great mentor. Showed me a lot. Kind of the end goal was always to open up my own shop. So I was kind of like, well, perfect. If you're opening our own shop and you've got all this experience, I can kind of like fast track and kind of like I've got direct contact. And then that was in Sydney, and then he moved to Perth for family stuff. So the reason why I kind of joined kind of got pulled back, so it started not really working out. And then moved back up to the Gold Coast to help out my uncle, because he was, well, not struggling, but was just running a law firm as if it was 1970 rather than 2020. But yeah, so tried to help him, worked for free for him for a year, under the pretense that I was then going to come on as legal practice director. Year came, year went. I had the conversation, wasn't going to retire, so I was like, well, I can't keep working for free. So opened up own shop June 13th last year down in Burleigh. We've got satellite offices in Brisbane and New Zealand. I got admitted and hold a practicing certificate in New Zealand, which is cool because in New Zealand you're admitted as a barrister and a solicitor. So technically I'm a barrister in New Zealand, which is good for the ego. And yeah, kicking along. Just yeah.
Sounds like a bit of an interesting journey, and I don't know whether you want to say struggle in deciding whether to be a lawyer or not. I guess what was the biggest thing that kind of just pushed you over the edge and said, you know what, I can do this. I can start my own firm. I can make something of it.
I feel like every young lawyer has that same internal dialogue or struggle when they come out of uni and realize how competitive the industry is and how many graduates there are to how little positions there are. So for me, I was like, oh, I don't really see a clear path for me here, you know. There's like 10,000 graduates for 500 jobs, you know. And I've always been a person that is very conscious of always trying to do what you actually enjoy, because especially in your 20s, you can say to yourself, look, I'm just going to get this job and I'll just work this job for 2 or 3, 4 years, and then it'll let me do what I actually want to do. But that takes you from 22 to 28. And then you're looking at 28 and you might be engaged and you're looking at having kids within the next year. And then you are like, well, no, I can't change my career or my industry that I am in my career because it's too much of a big risk. I can't do that. So then you end up spending the next 15 years where you learn to love it, I guess. You learn to get better, but then you look back, you wake up one day and you're 35 and you reminisce on the days at uni when you had these dreams of doing this that just got pushed to the side. And I think that's where midlife crises come in, and divorce breakdowns and stuff, you know. So marriage breakdowns leading to divorce, sorry. So I've always been like, in my early 20s, I took the approach of just trying everything, doing 6 months there, 3 months there, and very lucky to be able to do it. A lot of people don't have the ability to, but yeah, I was like, look, I'll just try it out. And I think maybe because of my father being, my father lives and breathes law, loves it. Still to this day, hasn't had a practicing certificate for 20 years. But still every day telling me about this, telling me about that case, telling me about this, where he thinks it's going. He talked to his judge mate, they're doing this. He talked to his QC friends, they're doing this. So I think I've always that's always been inside me. But I think as children, you kind of have that innate, oh, I don't want to be like my parents, you know. I'm my own person. You know, I'm not like Dad. Like, people are like, oh, you're just like your father growing up. You're like, no, I'm not. No, I'm my own person. And then I kind of got to the point where I was like, you know what, whatever. I am. So yeah, and I found like what I'm passionate about is the growth of law and what's new and helping other people. That's why I wanted to start my own gig to provide a platform for younger lawyers to do what they want, or you know, like with me and my staff, they know, like if they're doing commercial stuff and they want disputes, they're completely comfortable coming to me and be like, I don't want to do this work anymore, I want to do disputes, and I'll help them, I'll find more work for them. Where that's kind of what, like, the reason why I came to that was like being pigeonholed, you know, being like in a big company and just them being like, oh, you've got to do this, and I don't want to do this. And I think people do good at whatever they want to do. You know, if you like it, you do good at it. You know, like it doesn't matter if you're a 99 student or a 51 student. If you're doing what you like, you're going to be good at it. So that's what I'm passionate about, is just providing young lawyers the base to build themselves in the way that they want to build themselves.
Yeah, and that's,
rather than.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's such, you know, a great, I guess, motivation for young lawyers, especially, you know, it's definitely an incentive for working for you. And, you know, the funny thing is, I was actually reading, what was it called? The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek the other day. And he talks about, like, you know, the CEOs and the leaders of the business, they're not responsible for the results. They're responsible for the people that get the results. So, you know, you make them happy, at the end of the day, you're going to get the results. And it seems like, you know, you've incorporated that really well by allowing them to trial and error and determine what they do and they don't like.
And like, it just, if people are doing, like, I mean, speaking from experience, I regretfully didn't try at stuff that I was not good at. You know, like when I'd get stuff that I didn't really want to do at other jobs, I just wouldn't try, which is not a good thing. You should always try to strive to do your best in whatever you do, but it's a reality, and I think it's a bigger reality of millennials too, or you know, sub 30-year-old lawyers. You know, gone are the days of you just grind out because you work for the name on the door. You know, I feel like younger people are like, I don't care about the name on the door, because it's so competitive and it's so global, and it's just like, well, the name on the door doesn't mean anything anymore. It still has its weight, like, you know, like a lot of recruiters still hit me up because of Deloitte being on my LinkedIn. But you know, like, I think to the actual lawyer, it means less now. And I think actually what you're doing, not who you're doing it for, is more important. So yeah, and yeah, like you said, being responsible for the humans that do the results, that's pretty well 90% of business. Hey, like, it's just, you know, human management, like organizational behavior. So if you get that right, the results kind of come off the back end. So,
yeah, and I really love that whole point, is that, you know, a lot of us nowadays, especially, you know, the sub 30s, you know, they want to work for a purpose. You know, they want to have a reason to actually be there and enjoy it, rather than just go, oh no, you're going to be stuck in litigation for 20 years. You better learn to love it.
Exactly. And I mean, that's like being a business owner. That's was one of the goals or changes that I want to implement this year, is pivoting more into dispute. Obviously, being a business owner, you know, you not stretch yourself thin, but you kind of figure stuff out. And then, like, I've found myself doing stuff that I used to do that I don't like, you know, and I'm like, well, what's the point of taking on all this risk and et cetera, to not do what I want to do? So yeah, that's one of our biggest things, is we're chasing more litigation work. It's so much more fun, you know, so much more exciting. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, that's what I'm doing at the moment, mainly commercial and litigation stuff. So I always find it so interesting. Like, you got that. I think most lawyers have that little bit of a competitive backbone. You know, you just want to have that edge, or find that one case that just puts your client over the top. Like, obviously, you're focusing on the client at the end of the day, but you still got that bit of a driving force behind you.
Well, I don't want to rub anybody wrong, but I feel like there's two types of lawyers, right? There's one type of lawyer that loves law, and another type of lawyer that loves to be a lawyer, like, and I mean, they're both, like, one has a bigger ego, and even like, even being wrong is like addicting, like, even that, you get rinsed by some Supreme Court judge or something, like, that's, even that feeling's addicting, because it's growth, it's building. You're like, oh, perfect, I'm going to come back way stronger, kind of thing. So yeah, litigation's fun, and I think litigation's, it's like not the final frontier, but it's like the forefront of law. Like the way I see it is it's the front line, and then everything kind of falls back from there, because some case gets litigated, precedent gets set, then that filters all the way back to other areas of law and stuff. So yeah.
I really love that concept of, even being wrong can be addictive because it's growth. And I feel like, especially myself included, as young lawyers, you're so hesitant to make a mistake, and then you make that first one, you're like, God damn, like, am I meant to be a lawyer? Like, I've just made this mistake. I spent 4 or 5 years, 6 years or whatever studying, and I can't even write a good pleading first time. It's just like, well, you can't be expected to be perfect. Like, you've got book knowledge, but like, you don't have real world knowledge or experience.
But yeah, and the thing with law is that if you got a QC to write a pleading and gave it to another QC in that same industry, he would rewrite the entire thing and rip it apart. And then if you gave that to another QC, he would go, this is so stupid, rip it apart again. And then if you did it to another one, he'd do the exact same, or she would do the exact same thing. It's like, that's the difficult thing, is like in law and litigating, it's subjective, right? The way you express your argument is the way you express your argument, where everybody has like an opinion on it, it's the same thing, kind of like similar to drafting, every single law, like, the guys at the office get pissed off at me because I like drafting in a particular way, and they're like, well, that makes no sense. And I'm like, well, but I like that way, and it makes sense to me, and I think it portrays the clearest message that we're trying to say here. But then they're like, well, I don't agree, and there's always a differing of opinions in law because of that subjectivity element to it.
And I guess as an employer, like, as you said, the marketplace is, saturated. As an employer, how can someone who's looking for a job or employment actually stand out in that crowd?
From the point of they've graduated and they're looking for jobs, because there's two as I was saying off camera, if you're studying law, if you're first year, my biggest advice would be to get a paralegal position somewhere, or an office manager position or something, even unpaid, just to get numbers on the board, runs on the board. You need to get some wickets under, because then you come out of uni, and then when you interview with a firm, then you're like, oh, well, like, no, like, I used to use this software, or we used to have these computers, so this is the way that I know how to do this. And it's so much easier to adapt than it is to learn, if that makes sense. If you come out of uni with no actual legal experience, every single person that's going to interview you is going to be like, oh, well, we're going to have to teach you. So then if you're in that position, then you're kind of defined by your grades. So you're kind of like, well, I don't have any experience, I don't know how a law firm runs day to day, but I'm a fucking weapon, and I'm super smart. And then, like, from my point of view, then there's something of interest, and there's, like, something we can bank on with that person. But yeah, experience. And like, everybody's seen those memes of, like, you're 1 year out of uni and they want 5 years of experience, but they won't give you the experience. So you need to get the experience while you're at uni, part-time, like 1, 2, 3 days a week. Even if you went to, like, when I was in high school, I used to do afternoons at a law firm at Hammond Solicitors. I used to go down there after school and literally just, like, wash the dishes and clean clean the bins and stuff. But during that, I would, ask a partner a question or like overhear something and like learn that way. And it all adds up. That, like, obviously now nobody cares that I did 4 years as like a temp kind of thing, where you kind of constantly progress. But that was one of my mistakes when I was at uni. I thought it was just best to just focus on uni and try to get good grades. Where if I could do it again, I would have got casual 1 or 2 days a week at some Gold Coast firm, and I think it would have not fast tracked me, but it just makes recruiters and people that are hiring you more comfortable about you. You've got more, you're in the game, you haven't just been watching the whole time, you've actually been playing.
Gives you a bit more opportunity to choose from as well.
Yeah, exactly, because you have no experience and you come out of uni, some shitty firm that you actually don't like offers you a job and you're like, oh, okay, I'll take it. Where you're like, it gives you more cards to hold, more weapons.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I've said time and time again on this podcast, it's always good to get a foot out there, even just being in the atmosphere and meeting the people in the actual profession. It's just, it changes. Like, looking back now from when I was a student, not really having much involvement, to coming out and being as much as involved as I possibly can. Like, your whole attitude changes towards your work and towards what's involved.
Well, you got to get out and about to get up and about, right?
Yeah,
nobody. Yeah, like, you're looking for a girlfriend, you're not going to find her at home. Like, you got to get out there, got to expose yourself, and yeah, that's like, and because you meet somebody and they might not be able to give you a job, but you don't know who like, you don't know. Yeah, you don't know who the people know.
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
you might know this guy, and then he's like, oh, my auntie's the head tax partner at PwC in Brisbane, do you want me to introduce you? And you love tax, and you're like, oh wow, okay, I would love that. And then your career and your entire life completely shifts. So,
and it's simple as something like, especially with LinkedIn and everything now, it's so easy to reach out and just go, hey, I'm a uni student, can I pick your brain sometime and buy you a coffee? Like, same thing I've done for this podcast. I literally just message you guys out of the blue and say, hey, you want to come on for a chat? I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and that's like, and then everybody wants to too, like, everyone's like, oh, of course, you want to talk to me, and like even barristers and stuff still like want to be wanted, if that makes sense, and then and also every lawyer loves coffee. So if you're like, hey, can I buy you a coffee before work next week? Everyone's going to be like, hell yes, please.
I don't think I've ever met anyone who said no to a free coffee.
Yeah, never. All
right, well, as we come a bit towards the end of the podcast, I just have a few more questions. So if you didn't end up going into law, what do you reckon you'd be doing?
Medicine. I never wanted to practice med because I'm a little bit apathetic and intolerant. But I love the science behind, like, medical science. Maybe, like, I really love, I hate to say it, but like biohacking or like anti-aging science and the science behind that stuff. That's still kind of like a little side passion of mine. I like to research and find out and implement different things and stuff. Like, got a infrared sauna and an ice bath just there, stuff like that. So, just I probably would be doing that. Or I don't really see myself doing anything else. I had a failed swimming career, so maybe a professional swimmer if I actually gave it a crack.
Yeah. No, I'm similar boat with the biohacking. Like, I've just read, what's his name, Wim Hof's book about the ice bath and the breath work and stuff. So I've been doing that lately, and Yeah, it feels pretty good, and like it's weird when you first do it, but like once you do it after a while, it just kind of turns into a habit and it feels pretty good.
Yeah, it gives you clarity. And I just feel like, yeah, there's so much noise in our lives now. There's so many different pulls and things, and it gets you kind of above ground where that stuff kind of centers you and connects you back with the earth, kind of thing. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, absolutely.
nothing like going to the beach and doing a few rounds of Wim Hof and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
yeah, your career like fighting too. I love martial arts. Grew up doing kempo and kickboxing and stuff too. So,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
but my body's so brittle, so
Yeah,
brittle. I'm like a milk biscuit, you know. I just fall apart.
yeah. See, I've always been a big fan of meditation, like not sitting there and meditating for hours on end. Like I'll just do, 10 minutes of just breathing here and there just to, as you say, center yourself and just allow your mind to stop stressing over the things you can't control. Because, as lawyers, we're worried about, oh, we got to do this tomorrow, we got to do that tomorrow. Oh, this client's chasing this. And it's just like, we just got to give ourselves time to actually be ourselves and come back to ourselves, basically.
Switch off and just connect back. It's like the I also think because we speak so much more now. Like I heard somebody told me yesterday that smiling is a thing that we haven't always done. We only started smiling, I think, like around like when dentistry started or something like that. Where I think because we're so vocal and we use our mouths a lot more, we mouth breathe a lot more. And when we mouth breathe a lot more, we breathe up into our upper chest a lot more. So then when we're pulling tension up into our neck and stuff, and then because we're always seated and we're always hunched over, then that tension is getting put into the wrong muscles and causing issues, causing headaches and stuff like that. So I think even just trying to nasal breathe more helps a lot with stress for me.
Yeah, funny you say that. I was actually just listening to a podcast on the actual topic of like nasal breathing compared to mouth breathing. And it's very
Mm.
interesting how something so small can actually affect your body in such like a big way.
We can like you change your face shape and everything. Like I follow this guy on Instagram. I think he's called MT Performance. Yeah, Mads. He's like he's a Dutch breath person. But this is the difference of his face over 1 year from that's nasal breathing and that's mouth breathing, and his whole facial structure is different.
Mm.
It's crazy. His jaw's more set back, his neck's straighter. It helps a lot with we've got a breath coach at the gym, Alex Butchies. And like what was he saying about like CO2 production and stuff like that? It's crazy. Nitric oxide. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, well, the one I was listening to involved a dentist, and he actually went to like a dentist convention and said, why are we not teaching kids to try and nasal breathe? It would avoid, 90% of people needing braces. And one of the senior dentists turned around and went, we know that. We've known that for years. It's just obviously we're going to lose a shitload of money. So why would we do it? And I was just like, I just found that so fascinating. It's just like, we just hinder ourselves because of our desires and greed, basically.
Bottom dollar. We're dictated by fear and greed. I guarantee if you told everybody like it's scary, like your teeth are gonna go crooked if you breathe through your mouth, everybody will breathe through their nose.
Absolutely. All right, we've got a bit off topic, but coming back to it, so in summary, what would your main advice be to obviously you've got, get your toe out there. What else would you advise someone who's either a first year lawyer or a student? What would your advice be?
Just generally?
Yeah, just generally.
Apply yourself. Don't be scared to get all consumed by law. Don't feel like it's uncool to get all consumed by it. Don't feel like, oh, everybody's going to think I'm a nerd if I'm like, oh my God, guys, have you read this case? It's so interesting. If that's how you feel, do it, be yourself. I, was half in the door all the way through uni kind of thing, being like, it's not cool to be, super involved in this and stuff. It's not cool to be on student boards. It's not cool to do that stuff. And looking back, I would highly recommend doing that stuff, getting on student boards. And if you're going out and meeting people, do some bespoke research about them, like ask them, you're going to meet a partner that you see worked in South Africa, like in 2002, research some law around South Africa or something like that and ask them about that. People love when other people remember or are interested in the finer details of themselves. And that'll, if they're interviewing 15 people, that'll make you stand out. And show your personality too. Don't be afraid to show like who you are, obviously always respect your brand, so to speak. Don't come into an interview with a recruiter throwing C-bombs everywhere or anything if you're from the country or something like that, but there's nothing stopping you from telling them you're from the country and you love the country and you love cattle and you had a dog named this and stuff. Don't think that just because they're lawyers from the city, they're not interested in that. People want to see who you are.
Yeah, and that's completely agree. And that's such great advice. If people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to have a chat?
TikTok. No, we're on websites diamondlaw.com.au. My personal Instagram's powerful James Diamond. Mobile numbers 0451061784. I'm always on that. I'm not good if you give me a call, leave a message and I'll come back to you. And yeah, socials and stuff. Yeah, Diamond Law, everything. If you feel free to give me a call. I love helping or just workshopping, anything, having a chat about whatever.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thanks for taking the time out of your morning to jump on and have a chat. You provided a number of great advice and had a pretty great discussion, so I'm glad we did.
Perfect. I got to get you on the Diamond Diary.
Sounds good. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening to the Young Lawyer podcast. If you found this content useful or enjoyable, make sure you share it with your family, friends, or colleagues. Let's grow the Young Lawyer community. If I can ask you a huge favour, can you please leave a review or a comment on iTunes and subscribe to the YouTube channel, so that way we can grow the community even further. Until next time, guys.